evening and welcome to Spooky Southcoast. Tim Weisberg, along with Stephanie Burke, science advisor Matt Moniz, and the silent assassin Matt Costa, broadcasting live on WBSM as well as on Spooky TV at SpookySouthcoast.com. And if you are somewhere where you can access the internet, whether it be via computer or phone or through the chip in your brain, all you have to do is go to Spooky TV at SpookySouthcoast.com and you can watch the show as it happens. And I know some of you are out there, you're listening on some of the apps. We have the Radio Pup app, which of course is put out by Town Square Media, which owns our station. You can get that app for free for Android or for iPhone. We also have the Ustream app, which allows you to watch the show live on Spooky TV as well. And it's also on WBSM.com. But the ultimate place to go is Spooky TV at SpookySouthCoast.com. Why? Because there, not only can you watch the show and listen to the show, but you can chat along with us, which you can do via your Twitter account by using the hashtag SpookyLive. And I know that we've gone through some different chat room incarnations over the last year or two. I think we've gone through like 17 different chat attempts. But this seems to be working the best because not only does it not tax the website was crashing before with everybody trying to get in there and chat all at once. So now with using Twitter, it allows people to be able to be part of the conversation even if they're not part of the chat room. So if you're listening, at any given time, even if you're listening to the podcast later on, you can always hashtag your thoughts with Spooky Live. And of course, you can follow us on Twitter at SpookySC because they wouldn't allow us to have the whole Spooky South Coast. But Matt Costa, last week, Spooky TV was our best performance yet. Everything worked fine technically. It looked awesome. We had all the graphics. We had the multiple cameras. And of course, we had an awesome guest in James Van Prague. But that's up on YouTube now under our YouTube archive. So if anybody wants to check that out, just go to youtube.com/Spooky South Coast and you can see finally what we envisioned when we started doing Spooky TV a few years ago.
Right. I'm actually pretty proud of it. It's a good time.
Worked out really well, I think. So hopefully this one will as well because we have a huge, huge show for you tonight. Joining us a little bit later on in the program will be our guests, John Tenney and David Rountree. They are from the new television series Ghost Stalkers. Have you guys heard about this show yet?
No.
Yeah.
Who?
Exactly. Well,
did they sneak up on ghosts? Is that what they do?
No, actually, we'll ask Tenney later on. He has a great definition as to why, because he felt the same way I did at first when he heard the name. Like, not sure how I feel about this. And you got to think about that when you're John Tenney or Chad Lindbergh, the two main investigators for the show, the two stars of the show. When you're them, I don't know if you want to do anything where you're publicly called a stalker. But John will tell us the actual definition of the word stalker, and then it makes perfect sense when it all comes together for what we're doing with this program. Of course, I've been working on it as the writer and the researcher, but they are the real brains behind the show. John and Chad are the ones out there in the investigation. Dave is the one creating all the interesting equipment and coming up with cool experiments for them to try. So we're going to get into not just what makes the show different from other paranormal reality shows, but we're going to get into what really is kind of at the heart of the theories that are being presented on the show. So, and here on Spooky South Coast, we kind of operate under the assumption that if you are new to the paranormal, welcome aboard. But we're operating under the assumption that if you're along for this ride, you're already accepting that there are things out there that we can't explain. So instead of trying to convince you, the audience, we try to take you a little bit deeper and explain the why and the how. We've been doing that for 9 years now. But that's something that you're going to see for the first time with Ghost Stalkers, and we'll talk about that coming up a little bit later on. We'll also have our Week in Weird segment where we talked with you about some of the stranger stories of the weeks. It's been a few weeks, Stephanie, since we had the Week in Weird.
It has been, and it's actually been pretty weird.
That's weird right there. As soon as you say weird, the commercial fires off. But one of the things that has been the reason why we haven't done it is because we've been doing what we called Psychic September.
Right.
Which was very successful in terms of the audience. The audience loved it. They loved hearing Matt Frazier. They loved hearing James Van Prague. They loved hearing Bob Olson talk about his research into psychics and mediums. And of course, we had Bob Ethier on as well, talking about some of his work working with psychics too. So it was a pretty big success. I think we're going to make it an annual thing.
I think we should.
As long as they let us keep coming in here on Saturday nights, and so far they forgot that they gave us a key, so I think we're good for a little while. We'll have Psychic September each year. And it's, we try to have readings every
Mhm.
once in a while through the course of the year and a little bit of inside information. That's a great night for us as hosts because all we have to do is push the buttons.
Right.
We don't have to do any of the heavy lifting. Everybody else just, calls in. They don't want to talk to us. They want to talk to the psychic, to the medium, to the numerologist, whoever we have on. They want to get a free reading. So all we have to do is push the buttons, take the calls, and just sit back and relax. But when we have something like we did with Psychic September, we're going to get deeper into it. We're
Right.
going to get more into what makes them tick.
It was very interesting coming from somebody that does that too. Listening to especially James Van Praagh come on and discuss his 30 plus years of experience. That was really awesome.
Right? I mean, you probably want to know, like I do,
Hmm.
but for a different reason, the process. You want to know what it is, how they do what they do, and how it comes to them, and if it's the same way that it happens for you.
I'm a huge psychoanalyzer anyways, so it's amazing to hear how other people do what they do, or do they share the same views and the outlooks as I do and the same beliefs, and it was actually really cool.
See, I'm a writer by trade,
Hmm.
and mainly a sports writer. So I will talk with other sports writers kind of about how they do things.
Right.
I was in a conversation with somebody just the other night about the process of how I write, and I was talking about how I like to take quotes and build off the quotes
Hmm.
and let the person that I'm featuring in the story tell the story. And this person's like, oh, well, I try to tell the story and then insert the quotes where it supports what I'm telling.
Hmm.
And, both are right. Both are just different ways of reaching the same
It's
end.
just a different style.
Exactly. So for me, that's interesting to break it down that way. So I'm sure that that's kind of the same thing that goes through your mind.
Yeah, it's always fun to go to a different medium or a psychic show and or even talk to them in depth about what they do. And I think, as we learned from Bob and James Van Praagh, always the student, you always learn different things, and it's fun to learn from different people, especially when they do the same thing that you do or something similar.
And I think, are we having a camera issue, Matt?
I don't think so.
Because I'm just seeing my stupid face a lot. Oh, I'm way behind. That's why. Oh man. I always get nervous when the camera's on me way too much because I really, really enjoy picking my nose.
I don't know. It looks like I have the booger cam right now,
Yeah.
so
That's no. Hold on. No, I don't see any. You're good.
no, I
No,
tried to blow my nose before I
yeah,
came.
no bats in the belfry.
It's awesome.
So
Good
that's
news.
that's the only thing is I watch the spooky TV and I really shouldn't do that because the internet's so slow here. We're so far behind. But if anybody would like to join in the discussion via Twitter, you can do so by hashtagging SpookySC, or you can tweet us directly. I'm sorry,
Spooky
hashtagging Spooky
live.
Live, or tweeting us directly at SpookySC. I almost reversed that. And you can also get in touch with us the old-fashioned way by calling in 508 996 0500, 877 996 1420, and you can also email your questions as well, spookycrew at spookysouthcoast.com. And those ways of contacting us, well, except the phone numbers, are good all week long. So if you have a question, if you have a show idea, if you're listening to a show from 5 years ago and you have a question, you can always email us or tweet us with that question. But it happens all the time. People will send me messages and be like, "Well, remember this show?" And I'm kind of. So, but we'll do our best to answer the question. One question that did come up through the course of this week was about our archives. We use a great, great podcast server called Hipcast. And what's great about it is they don't charge us any bandwidth. Now, we got in on Hipcast on the ground floor back when it originally started, back in 2006. We signed up with them. So we're kind of grandfathered in with this deal. It doesn't work the same way for a lot of other Hipcast broadcasters now.
Hmm.
So what we're doing is, we're trying to work with them to upgrade our archives because what happened was when they switched over everything with the new servers, they lost they lost the ability to archive more than 100 episodes per show on iTunes. And we've done 5 or 600 shows at this point. So we only have the most recent 100 up in our iTunes feed. They're working on trying to fix that so they can expand that and have deeper archives available on the feed. However, if you can't access the archives via iTunes and you want to go back and listen to before the last 100 shows, and we had some great, great shows back then, if you want to go and check them out, you can just go to the archive feed on SpookySouthcoast.com, and that will allow you to access those previous 400 or 500 episodes, whatever's there prior to the most recent 100. The problem is you're going to get a page that's a big long bunch of RSS feeds, and it's really hard to read and it's hard to do anything with, and it's hard for us to get in there and edit that to be able to change it up to make it look more presentable. So you kind of just have to roll with it. I did get in touch with Hipcast today, and I did ask them if they can either take what they gave us in terms of that feed and give us something that actually matches our website, or if they can find a way to start adding more than the last 100 episodes to our iTunes feed. I don't care about anybody else on Hipcast. Just make sure that we can, because we've been around since the beginning. So we'll work on getting that done for you. Also, one other thing that you'll notice if you go to SpookySouthcoast.com is, hold on, let me get one. We now have up on the site my wife's ghost face hats that she makes, and I'm going to hold that up for the camera here. Normally she's out there selling these at craft fairs and all that kind of stuff, but she didn't get a chance to do it this year because I've been so busy running around with stuff for Ghost Stalkers and everything else. So now we are going to put these on the website, so if people would like to buy them, you can do so just by going, there we go, by going to SpookySouthcoast.com, and you can purchase them right there. They're $20 plus $3 shipping. And I've worn it on the show before, but it just gets warm in here on my head. So if you want to get one, they make a great gift for folks. A great thing to wear on Halloween. Maybe you don't want to wear a costume, but you just want to look, spooky. You can put on a white T-shirt and one of these hats, and there you go. You'll be all set. So if you want to purchase one of those, you can do so by going to SpookySouthcoast.com, and it's right at the top there. And I promise I will not sell you that one that I just had on my sweaty head. All right, well, I think that pretty much covers all the promotional aspects of things. I think we've plugged all the things that we have to plug. And before we get into the discussion about Ghost Stalkers with our guests tonight, John Tenney and David Rountree, I think maybe, just maybe, it's time. I'll make sure I do this right. No, that's not right.
No,
All right, let's
that's not
try
right.
this. Let's get a little weird.
More bad news. Well, I got a great show for you today with some wonderful weird stuff. I feel so very weird.
The Week in Weird.
All right. Up first tonight we have, instead of Ghost Stalkers, maybe we'll call it Walmart Stalkers. A man drove across the country to confess to a 1997 killing because he misinterpreted messages about a prescription medicine as a veiled reference to the stranger he bludgeoned. Matthew Gibson, 55, was sentenced last week to 10 years in prison after the death of Barbara Leon Brown in Bullhead City, Arizona. Authorities didn't even know he existed before Gibson drove from North Carolina to Arizona this summer to confess that he beat the 38-year-old woman with a flashlight and ditched her body in the Colorado River the first night they met.
Oh, I hate it when that happens.
It's weird, huh? His lawyer said that he came clean because he just wanted it off his chest. However, the truth is Gibson had started to receive voicemails and text messages from Walmart saying that Anita Townshed's prescription was ready. Because Gibson didn't know the name of the woman he killed, he worried that Townshed was the victim and that someone had found out what he did to her. He then received an envelope with no return address that contained an ad from Walmart and started fearing that there was a contract on his head. He told the Observer that he had deleted the texts and voicemails, but that Gibson told her if he had ever received them, he would never have come forward. So it would still be an unsolved crime right now had he not turned himself in.
Yeah, people do stupid things. And there was actually a story, I don't know if you saw it today, about a kid who killed his girlfriend in the UK because he wanted to be like Dexter.
I did not see that.
Right. So
But
I mean,
that's interesting.
yeah,
I liked that show.
I was gonna say, I thought you were gonna say you like that stuff. I'm like, you like when people kill their girl?
No,
but
I liked Dexter. But that's
I think he liked it too, just a
a
bit too
little
much.
weird. Yeah, so paranoid maybe? I don't know. Next up, we have an Australian Pizza Hut came under serious criticism earlier this month for a truly thoughtless promotional campaign that offered free pets to customers making bulk purchases. Did you hear about this?
No.
The store, which is located in the suburb of Mount Waverley, southeast of Melbourne, had a sign in its window that advertised, "Buy any 10 large pizzas and get one free small animal from Pet Story." The tasteless giveaway, which was not condoned by Pizza Hut Australia, was immediately flamed on social media. People could not believe that the store had deemed it appropriate to, as one Twitter user had put it, give away animals like toys. A local animal rights organization, Oscar's Law, got involved and added fuel to the fire by demanding the store take down the sign. After first covering it up, the sign was eventually removed. Pizza Hut Australia had apologized and insisted that no animals were actually given away by the rogue franchise. From what I saw, they were giving away small hamsters.
And from what I heard, your husband was so glad that you don't live in Australia.
Yeah, probably.
Because you love taking home pets and eating pizza.
Well,
from
you should have
Pizza
seen the
Hut.
stray cat in my car today. That was a good time.
I don't even want to go there
Nope.
right now.
Nope.
At least the pets came with the pizza instead
10
of as
large
part of
pizzas.
the pizza,
Right, absolutely.
or inside the pizza box.
That would be terrible.
That's happened
I mean,
before.
did they have the pets in the restaurant?
I don't know.
Like-
It
No,
didn't
I think you had
clarify.
to go to like a local.
Was it
was
like
like
a
a-
coupon
it was a-
for
yeah, gift
a free
certificate.
hamster?
Yeah.
One free gerbil with the
Right.
purchase of a pizza.
I immediately thought of you when I found that story.
Matt would have named it pepperoni.
Yeah, he would have, and he would have had a bunch of them.
Pizzone.
Well, speaking of pizza, do you guys like nuts on your pizza?
How many
No.
pizzas did Richard Gere
No.
order?
How many pizzas did Richard Gere shove up his right? Huh?
That's such an old joke.
It is, but it never dies. Didn't they actually reference that on The Simpsons?
I think they referenced everything on The Simpsons.
Yeah, I think when they had Richard Gere on, didn't the hamster like make a face?
Yeah.
All right, sorry, go ahead.
It's fine. Well, last up we have a Texas teen employed at a Papa Murphy's pizza franchise faces criminal charges after. I know. After a customer caught him in the act of rubbing his scrotum on an uncooked stuffed crust Hawaiian pizza that he had ordered, according to the Austin American Statesman. When the customer asked Austin Simmons how old he was, he replied that he was 18. So, you are old enough to know better than to put your balls on someone's pizza, the customer said, according to the station. Yes, Simmons replied. Man, I am really sorry, that was stupid. Simmons was apparently upset that an order had come on in just before closing time. He allegedly admitted to police that he probably would have fulfilled the order with the tainted pizza if he had not been caught. Simmons is charged with tampering with a consumer product. He was released on $10,000 bail. Papa Murphy's is a Washington-based chain that makes take and bake pizza. It's a fast food failure.
Makes me rethink
Kinda-
stuffed crust pizza.
Kind of scary all at the same time.
It's a bit nutty.
That's right.
Listen, okay, I understand that it's possible when you go out to these fast food places, you never know what people are going to actually do to your food. And we've all been in the situation where, say, we're at the drive-thru, we're a little impatient, our
Mhm.
order's taking forever, we're complaining like, hey, how much longer is it going to be here? And then you realize immediately after you've said that, I just made the biggest mistake of my life because who knows what they're doing to my burger back there.
Right.
So we've all been in that situation. The more I hear stories like this, the more I hear stories about like what goes on at McDonald's, the more I think to myself, I think it's time that I got a little healthier in what I ate and avoid some of these places. But that one might actually take the cake.
Yeah, especially getting caught in the act.
Now, you guys working in the food industry for years.
Never.
No, I wasn't going to ask if you guys have done that. I was going to say, I'm sure you know of other stories of people that have done it that you worked with.
People that came and go and went and worked with us that would tell us stories about what they did, and I don't know if I believed half of them, but if half of them were even true, I'm glad that I never ate at the
Mhm.
places where they worked.
I've been tempted a few times, but I've never done it.
Right. I think the worst thing that we ever did to people's food, we did to each other. You know what I mean? Like we didn't mess with the customers' food, but we used to mess hardcore with each other. Like when we worked in the kitchen together, don't drink Sprite because we would just dump salt in your Sprite. But then one kid had to
Ugh.
go and take it too far and put bleach in the Sprite. Remember
Yeah.
that?
That's a little
There's always
weird.
one kid who takes it too far.
Absolutely. And usually it's one of us. All right, well, that is the Week in Weird for this week. If you have any stories you would like to share with us that you feel are strange and unusual, you can do so by tweeting them to us at SpookySC, hashtag them Week in Weird, and we'll catch them, we'll put them up on our website, and we'll maybe even read them here on the air. And you will get a warm radio hug from Stephanie, to quote Phil. Warm radio hugs.
Warm radio hugs.
Yeah, well, you got to get something for doing the work of finding the story. So I think a warm radio hug is pretty much fine enough. So
Sounds good.
again, some of these weirder stories, as we get into the Halloween season, we're going to hear a lot stranger stuff, more unusual stuff too. So you can always send that to us at SpookySC, hashtag it Week in Weird. But if you want to get involved with the conversation tonight, just hashtag us Spooky Live while the show is going on. We are going to be talking in just a moment. We'll take a break and we'll get in touch with tonight's guests, David Rountree and John Tenney, to talk about the new program Ghost Stalkers, which of course is going to air on Destination America October 19th at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, and it's produced by Nick Groff of Ghost Adventures fame, which, by the way, Ghost Adventures Season 10 is actually debuting tonight. It was on a little bit earlier, and it'll be rebroadcast a couple of times tonight, so you can check that out as well. And if you haven't, if you're listening to the show on podcast, I'm sure you've already seen it. But if you are listening live, or if you catch this before Monday night, and you can get yourself to New York City, you can come and be part of the Ghost Stalkers premiere by coming on down to the Bowery Hotel in New York City. If you go to eventbrite.com, eventbrite.com, you can register for a free ticket to come and see the show. Now, it is first come, first served basis, so you will register, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee that you will have a seat in the hotel. So you have to show up early at the Bowery Hotel in New York City for this premiere. It's happening at 7 p.m. this coming Monday night, October 6th, and you'll have a chance to see the first episode in its entirety as it is revealed to the world. And John Tenney and Chad Lindbergh will be there to answer questions. Dave Rountree will be there as well, myself, Nick Groff. So your chance to come out and meet the Ghost Stalkers team and to find out more about the program. There'll be a Q&A and a chance to meet everybody involved. So I've never been to a New York City hotel. It said business casual, and of course I'm Mr. Business casual.
We'll get you ready before you go.
I actually have my outfit already picked out. I already know what I'm going to wear. But
Is it black and brown?
It is not. It is a maroon button-down shirt
Mm-hmm.
with a pair of, I think, black pants.
Kind of similar to what you wore to Brendan's party?
I think it's the same shirt.
Okay.
And of course, I will go with my untucked style because it looks better. It's more hip with the kids these days. The kids don't tuck in their shirts.
As long as you don't wear brown shoes.
No, I don't even have brown shoes.
Okay, good.
So I will be wearing. I'll have a black belt as well.
Good.
And which means nobody mug me in New York City because I have a black belt. But anyway, here's kind of my problem. This is just a little aside, just a little general talk here before we take a quick break. I went today because I'm like, this is kind of a big event, and I haven't gotten a haircut in a couple of months. My eyebrows are looking a little bushy, and of course I need a beard trim. I'm gonna go to the barber and get done up right. I go to my barber shop. It's closed, like gone, like he's no longer in business there.
So it's been a while.
I have no idea. Well, yeah, because I shaved my head over the summer,
Mm-hmm.
so I hadn't been in there since maybe last spring. And what do I do now? I'm looking at two guys here that don't know what I'm talking about because neither one of them has been to a barber in 15, 20, 30 years.
You call me, and I put you in touch with someone.
No, because your barber's going to cost like $35 for a haircut.
No.
I had a great thing going. It was $13 for a haircut, and then I gave him $2 tip. So it was $15, and I knew every time that it was going to be $15. And we have the same routine every time. I'd hand him a $20, he'd hand me back $7, and I'd give him $2 and say, "Here, tuck this one away so that the IRS doesn't know." It was like our thing. It's what we did. But now I have to go and find a new barber, and it's just a scary world out there.
I will help you. I promise.
Supercuts?
No, I've gone to the
Don't do
Supercuts
it.
and all that stuff. I will not do it again. No offense to Supercuts or anything, but unless you're going to start shaving the back of my neck like needs to be done.
Didn't I buy you a Floby?
You did, but it also doesn't shave the back of my neck. And
Alright.
and nobody at home will come at me with a razor blade, at least not intentionally, and letting me know that they're coming. No, but nobody wants to take a razor blade and shave the back of my neck. So I need a barber. I need to feel that warm shaving cream lather. You guys don't even know what I'm talking about. Think back to when you were 5 years old and you actually went to a barber.
I just have images of Sweeney Todd.
Nope, not like that at all. So I hear the commercial for this great place in Rhode Island where, they give you the old-fashioned treatment and the shave and everything. I look at the price, it's like $75 to get a haircut. I'm like, but it grows back in 2 weeks.
That's how they make their money.
Yeah. So there you have it. There's my little story for the day. I had to get that off my chest because
There's a place in New Bedford that
I've been.
You can-
The $7 haircuts.
I don't know. It has like a hot dog place in it too.
Yeah,
You can get
it's
hot dogs and
the last
a
time I
haircut.
You
went
would
there.
know about a place with hot dogs and haircuts.
Listen, the last time I went there, just to show you how long it's been since I went there, the last time I went there, I got into an argument with my parents about whether or not I could get any designs shaved into the side of my head. And they're like,
You should get dollar bills or something.
this is I think I wanted to get like, I don't know, like wavy lines, zigzags. But this is when I had, the spiked hair in the front and the long hair in the back. And I was like, can I just shave the sides of my heads and put designs in them? My mother's like, no, I will kill you if you do that. And
But you had a mullet.
thank God she was right. Listen, back then everybody had one, okay? It was all right back
You
then.
should put hashtag Ghost Stalkers.
I will. Hashtag Ghost Stalkers, hashtag Spooky Live on this side of my
We
head.
can make it really fun. I'll give you a
That'll be
haircut before you go.
That scares me.
Ask Andy Lake. I cut his hair.
I was gonna say I've seen your husband. Was that your doing?
That was not my doing
She's
by
like,
my
here,
own
let me
choice.
just give you a trim.
He
Next
forced
thing,
me to
there's no
shave
hair
his
left.
head.
Okay.
But I cut
Wait,
guys'
you
hair all
shave
the
his
time.
head?
Huh?
You shave his head for him?
I did.
Oh. I say I
Don't
can
you touch that beard.
Yeah, you leave that alone.
That beard needs to go.
You leave it alone. All right. Well, we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be joined by our guests tonight, David Rountree and John Tenney, two gentlemen who, by the way, are both very well groomed. So stay tuned for that. We'll be back with more in just a moment here on Spooky South Coast.
News and weather at the top of every hour and online all the time. AM 1420 WBSM and WBSM.com.
Geico presents Fan Mail to a Pig.
Dear Maxwell, first off, hope you are well. And I am. Seems like all you do is promote Geico's web and app abilities. And while I really enjoyed your last commercial where you talked about how I could take a photo of my VIN number and add it to my account all via my Geico app, I've got to think it doesn't leave you much time for anything else. Do tell. Sincerely, Miranda Morgan. Well, Miranda, thank you for asking. And this Geico spokespig does have time to do other things. For instance, I do a lot of
VIN scanning to add a car, just a tap away on the Geico app.
America was built by people with a few dollars and a dream. And while many don't know it, there's one path to success that still only requires a dream and about $10. That's right. If your dream is to start or grow your business, something as simple as the right business card could make all the difference. And today, at Vistaprint.com, you can get 500 full-color business cards for only $9.99. That's right, 500 business cards for just $9.99. What's more, you can choose between hundreds of designs or upload your own and customize them easily. And because they're from Vistaprint.com, the cards are of top quality and your satisfaction is 100% guaranteed. So visit Vistaprint.com today and get 500 shots at turning your dream into reality. Hurry, because this offer won't last long. To get your 500 business cards for just $9.99, go to Vistaprint.com, click on the link in the upper right corner, and use promo code 5656. That's Vistaprint.com, click on the link in the upper right corner, and use promo code 5656.
Tomcat kills up to 12 mice per bait block, faster than Decon. What will we do with all of these dead mice? Tomcat presents Dead Mouse Theater, and the critics are raving. They solved my mouse problem and renewed my faith in theater. I like my mice dead, but dead mice that can act are even better. Tomcat got the mice out of my walls, onto the stage, and into my heart. Dead Mouse Theater, open to the public this fall at tomcat.com. Tomcat. Engineered to kill. 1 ounce bait block based on no choice lab tests. Time from lethal dose to death.
Little Bo Peep has lost her sheep because someone broke into her apartment and stole all her sheep, not to mention a 50-inch flat-screen TV. Luckily, the Geico Insurance Agency had helped her with renter's insurance, and she got full replacement. She has since trained her sheep to do voice impressions of various attack dogs, and now feels very safe. Visit geico.com to see how affordable renter's insurance can be.
The Home Depot has what you want in laminate flooring. Options. So let's shop hundreds of styles of flooring all under a single roof. Let's compare hand-scraped to high gloss. Choose from rich reds and deep browns. And get a special buy on exclusive Traffic Master Allentown Hickory, starting at just 99 cents a square foot. Let's do this. Save on Traffic Master Allentown Hickory laminate. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. While supplies last, styles vary by market. U.S. only. See store for details.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out. That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Get the Wave Ventilation Unit. It will transform your home into a drier, healthier environment. Satisfaction guaranteed. Go to dryhousetoday.com. That's dryhousetoday.com.
Here's a special announcement for those of you who owe the IRS at least $10,000 or more in back taxes. Now there's hope. The Internal Revenue Service has extraordinary programs in place that could eliminate or reduce your tax debt by thousands of dollars. Call the 911 Tax Relief Helpline that has been set up to help you. 800-549-5126. Stop the wage garnishments, levies, and tax liens now. Once you've qualified and enrolled, the IRS will halt all collection activities against you. These unique programs have been allocated to help the economy and significantly reduce or eliminate your tax burden. The IRS is currently accepting reduced settlements and other favorable programs. You may qualify for substantial savings, so get the help you need. For free information and to see if you qualify, take down the number now for the Tax Relief Helpline. 800-549-5126. 800-549-5126. That's 800-549-5126.
Want the latest dish at the most entertaining dining spot on the South Coast? Try the Hollywood Scoop Route 6 Manapoiset. Featuring breakfast every day, all-you-can-eat fish and chip Fridays, and dinner and a movie nights every night. Try the Rock's Hot Mix Signature Sandwich with honey barbecued fried chicken, or Larry's Loaded Sweet Potato Buffalo Chicken Cheese Fries. And they deliver. Gift cards available now for half price on Seize the Deal. Get a $30 gift card, just $15. Log on to WBSM.com and buy them now.
Welcome back to Spooky South Coast. Tim Weisberg, along with Stephanie Burke, science advisor Matt Moniz, and the silent assassin Matt Costa. And we think we fixed some of our phone issues here. I don't know
Hopefully.
why all of a sudden we're having trouble making long-distance calls. Who didn't pay the
I know
bill?
why. Pick me.
Why?
Today's the first day of Mercury retrograde.
Damn you and your Mercury retrograde.
It's not my fault. Don't blame me.
Damn you and your
It's
Mercury
only 3
retrograde.
weeks this time, though.
That's 3 weeks more than we need here.
Right.
With all the stuff that we have going wrong, is that why we were having all the Wi-Fi issues earlier too?
Probably.
No, it's not. It's because the Wi-Fi here is terrible.
Well, that too.
And you know, we did set up a GoFundMe account at gofundme.com/SpookySouthCoast if anybody would like to make donations to help upgrade Spooky TV. And if we can get enough people to donate, maybe we can get them to buy a new router or something here at the station, which goes beyond our control, by the way.
Yes, it does.
Well, joining us on the line, we have a couple of gentlemen who you know if you are fans of the paranormal, if you have an interest in the world of the paranormal, and not just the idea of the pursuit of ghosts, but really getting into the heart, the soul, the meat and potatoes of the theory of why this stuff happens. And so that's why I'm so honored to work with them. And I can't believe that it took Ghost Stalkers to finally get each of them on the program. We want to welcome John Tenney, who is one of the investigators for Ghost Stalkers. Good evening, John. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
We're doing very well. Spooktacular, as we say here. And I will lock you in. And we'll also bring in Dave Rountree. Dave, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. Worked out pretty well there. I'm going to lock you in as well so that if anybody calls in, we won't lose you guys. See, I almost know what I'm doing here. As these guys can attest, I'm a much better writer than I am a radio host.
You're not too bad. We'll keep you.
Well, you have to. The station's making you. Well, you know, guys, as I mentioned, I can't believe that it took this program, Ghost Stalkers, coming out to actually have you each on the show, because I've been following both of your work for many years now. And John, you've been in this for a long time. Dave, you've been in it for a long time. So it's really, you know, you guys are both used to seeing the ebb and the flow and the waning and the waxing of the popularity of this topic. John, I know that you've been involved with, you know, television in the past. Is it something that's always been kind of a stick in your craw, the way that television perceives the world of the paranormal?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've walked away from a number of shows. I've worked on a bunch, and they've pretty much all ended horribly. And it takes something really big to get me to come back in. And this is, I don't want to apply paranormal phenomena to everything, but this combination of the people that were working on the show really was synchronistic in its happening. Even the words that were used, when I was talking to Nick at first, and they wanted a science advisor, he says, I want you to try and reach out to someone. He goes, we need a tech person on the show. I really need someone who has just, written the book on paranormal technology. And I said, well, I know a guy who wrote a book called Paranormal Technology. And it was David. So, I mean, it was almost as if, the universe was telling me, you need to call David for this.
Right, and it definitely worked out well because when Nick asked me too, he's like, "Who do you know that's making cutting edge equipment? Who can really help us in that realm?" And I thought the same thing because I'd seen some of Dave's stuff, and Dave, I'll be honest with you, when I saw some of the equipment that you have on your website and some of the things that you've been trying, I looked at it and said, I don't know if that's something that can be applied to paranormal pursuit because the people who are out there trying to pursue this just won't get what Dave's working on. But it seems like you've been able to create both very high concept equipment that you can run, but you're also able to create things that the common investigator can apply as well.
Well, that's true, and a lot of the stuff that we do create is put on our website so people can duplicate it themselves. I mean, they don't have to go out and buy it from any specific location. I mean, we have how-to tutorials and stuff like that on how to put it together yourself. So a lot of the stuff that we use, not all of it so much, but a lot of it we do use, and we make it accessible to the everyday investigator.
One of the more interesting bits of information that I found out about you over the years is the work, Dave, that you do for a day job. You are a scientist, like my co-host Matt Moniz. You are somebody who is looking at the world of the paranormal through a very scientific lens. But what I found also interesting is that you have a very spiritual side to yourself as well. And it's almost like you've found the perfect balance of being able to achieve all those different avenues of the pursuit of the paranormal.
It wasn't an easy journey. It's like having your feet in both worlds. But I will say that I'm glad that I'm able to do that because it has come in handy in my life. It's come in handy in the people in my life. And it's actually hasn't been in the scenes and probably never will be, but it's been handy in the show.
It's you have to have a firm belief system to be able to do this and to be able to experience this. And I say all the time, I don't have any kind of religious belief, but I do believe that there's something out there that we don't know and that we don't understand. John, you're someone who you have the same thoughts and theories that I do. I actually have listened to you on other podcasts, and I've thought to myself, gee, this guy and we have a lot of the same ideas on this, and it's become a lot of forward-thinking people in the field are starting to have these same approaches that maybe this isn't all just chasing around dead people. And with that in mind, how do you do what you do from the perspective that you do it from? I mean, Dave being spiritual and being scientific, you being very observational and almost journalistic in your approach.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right? Because the closest thing that I have to a belief system is my belief that I don't believe anything. I mean, for as nonsensical as that sounds, I don't even know if I believe that. But I come at it from a very, there used to be a really deep philosophical side to paranormal research that I think got lost somewhere along the way, where you weren't just questioning, why is there a ghost in this building, but you were actually questioning the nature of reality and how we perceive reality. And, what is the difference between, kobolds, imps, and pixies, and time travelers, and aliens, interdimensional beings, and ghosts? The only thing that really separates them is the language that we use, which falters and falls apart very quickly when you start to examine the experience and you pull the words away from it.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I think is lost on people today because the paranormal is so out there, and I mean out there like in the forefront of people's mainstream experience. And it's around us so much now that we take for granted the fact that it should really be blowing our minds when we have these experiences. And for too often now, people are going out and you get into kind of that, if you're an investigator, if you're one of the people who are on these paranormal teams, you almost get into a rut of, okay, is there going to be activity? Is there not? and you take for granted the fact that we're having these experiences that are really not supposed to happen.
Oh, for sure. Whether it's whether it's a synchronistic event, it's funny that we live in a world where you have a huge body of people who are skeptical, and they'll tell you that, certain happenings are coincidence. And again, it comes down to language. They've created a word that they can apply to paranormal phenomena. That means this just happens, but we don't know why. And they call it coincidence, and then say, well, it's not paranormal, it's coincidence. And, well, what's the definition of coincidence? Well, it's a bunch of stuff that happens randomly just because, but we don't understand why it does. And so that's what I'm talking about when I talk about paranormal phenomena. It's just happening, but we don't know why.
And that's, again, having the idea of things being kind of preordained, predestined to happen, and things coming together for a reason. That's exactly what's happened, I think, not only with Ghost Stalkers coming together, but you and Dave becoming friends over the years. To have these different approaches being able to come together with two minds that, let's face it, not everybody out there researching this topic can explore it to the same depths that the two of you can.
It's interesting you bring that up, because John and I disagree on a lot of things, but we agree on a lot of things. But our friendship is such that we respect each other's opinions, even though, we may not agree with each other. And I think that's important in a friendship, and I think it's important in a field that studies something of this nature as well.
And of course, now with Ghost Stalkers, you're bringing in Chad Lindberg, who is also one of the investigators on the show, and folks would know him from Supernatural, from The Fast and the Furious, October Sky. He's been in a lot of different television shows and movies. But to bring him in, because he's been an investigator for a few years now, and I know that he has experience, John, but in seeing some of the footage that I've seen, it also seems like he still has a bit of that wide-eyed wonder to these experiences that yourself, having gone through it now for 20 plus years, has probably become kind of secondhand in a lot of this stuff. And does that kind of reinvigorate you as an investigator to have Chad alongside you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm able to re-experience
Attention,
my
homeowners.
by watching him. And Chad really is playing, his part on the show. What he's doing is he's providing what a real person goes through when they start to experience these odd experiences. Sometimes, when an event or an incident or an encounter happens with me when I'm on camera, my reaction is very sullen, and I think about it. It's overthought. I go through my process of figuring out what just happened to me, and there's decades worth of internal mining that I have to do to get through the experience, where Chad is very emotional and very reactive. He's new. He's allowed himself to be completely open on camera to having these experiences, and I think it's so genuine and beautiful as a person who has become jaded over the years. I have no doubt and no problem admitting that. And Chad, his passion and his experience has really allowed me to open up a channel back to myself that I have almost forgotten about.
But at the same time, you also get to take a little bit of a mentorship role, and you get to have a little bit of an opportunity to teach, and to teach someone who is not only interested in the subject matter, but is willing to have the same approach that you are, that we don't have to necessarily buy into the idea that the paranormal can be pigeonholed into one particular category.
Well, for sure. And again, it's great. You have, David and I, and, Chad comes to us with passion and curiosity and intensity, and just a deep desire to know more and learn more, not only about paranormal phenomena, but himself. And he can talk to David and I because of the way that David and I are. He can talk, and he can get a spiritual shamanistic side from David. And he can also get a scientific side from David. And he can come to me for a philosophical side and for a kind of weathered investigator's skeptical side. So he gets, a fully rounded experience while he's doing the show. And I think that's really good for people to see.
And you guys here in the studio, you can understand why I've been saying for weeks now that this show is going to kick everybody's ass. In terms of when they're watching this, they're going to be like, whoa.
I'm really excited for it, just because I feel like it's so different from everything that we've seen so far. I feel like everything that's out there now is just, hey, did you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
Right.
And it's the same thing over and over. So.
And we'll talk a little bit about each of you guys' experiences. I'm sorry, Moniz, you were going to say something? I didn't
Yeah, I was going to say it sounds like it steps out of the boilerplate that all the others follow.
Right, and that's kind of what's happened is, each network wants to have their show where people are going out and proving that ghosts exist. But and of course the executive producer being Nick Ruff, he's kind of been there, done that. He's gone out and shown the world that these experiences do take place, and that was kind of his driving force behind this, was to take it to the next level. And what a lot of people have been asking me, Dave and John, is the idea that, is this going to be similar to Ghost Adventures because Nick is involved? And what's I found to be the hallmark of this is the fact that, yes, Nick is involved, but he's allowed this. This is your experience. This is your show. This is your pursuit and your journey, and he's just helping to create the vision to document that journey. And John, as somebody who I know has been turned off from shows in the past, that must have been very liberating for you.
Yeah, it's unbelievable that Nick put this thing together, and one of the things that he really wanted to show people, and I really think it's coming through on this show. I mean, this show is a really good baby step in the right direction for paranormal reality television and paranormal thinking in general. But he's allowing new ideas to be put forward. When paranormal television started, I was really excited because it created discussion and open dialogue, and it was starting to strip down stigmas, and I was really excited about it. And now we're 10 years into paranormal reality television, and a lot of the television shows have actually acted to stagnate people. They think there's only one way to do something. They think there's only one piece of equipment that you can use, that when you do an EVP session, you have to ask certain questions. And that's why this is such a good step forward. You see so much variation. You hear David and I talk about interdimensional beings and alternate realities. You hear natural conversations between questioning persons, and you don't get that on any other show.
Well, I know that we can go all the way back to the early days of television, to when they first started covering paranormal topics. But one of the first shows that got a lot of folks involved in the discussion was In Search Of, which did one of the better jobs, I think, that any show has done. But John, you were involved with another kind of milestone in paranormal television, that being Unsolved Mysteries, and you had a role that you played on that show as well for a while.
Yeah, I was pretty much their Tim. I was a location scout, a researcher, writer, collected histories on places, and Unsolved Mysteries was one of the first place that really had access to Lizzie Borden house, and that was just a fantastic experience. But again, like all shows, you eventually reach a point where, okay, now it's becoming hyperbole, and it's becoming something to just shock and scare the viewer. You're losing out. You're not getting really any new information, and that's kind of when I left. I actually always joke that there's still an office in New York where there's a cloud of obscenities that I spewed out on one of the producers. That room is still haunted by all the obscenities when I walked out of the office that day.
I'd love to catch the EVPs there. And Dave, you're someone that I can imagine throughout the years, especially over the last decade or so, when the investigation reality shows have come out there, doing what you do and having done it for so long, I'm sure there was a lot of eye rolls on your part with some of what was being presented on television.
Well, it becomes a cookie cutter scenario now. You have all these thousands of groups out there emulating the same things over and over again ad nauseum. And it becomes old real quick. And what has happened in the television community is you're losing viewers because the community has educated itself now. And it's time for a quantum leap up. It's time for us to kick it up a notch. And I have to hand it to Nick. He's been a pleasure working with because he has the same visions that we do. We're not searching for ghosts. We're searching for the truth, whatever that may be. And we're trying to remain open-minded about it because everything is getting lumped into this one category of ghosts, and it's applying to a myriad of phenomena. And that's simply not the case. It's much more complex than that. And it's like John hints, in his response, there are many things out there we don't understand. We can't lump them all into a single bag. We're going to have to individually bag those items, identify them, and explore them. And I think that's what's the beautiful thing about this show is we have the foundation involved to do some of that.
I knew early on in the process that we were in for something special when in researching one of the cases, and I'm not going to give anything away here, but in researching one of the locations that the guys investigate, I started hearing stories about something that was supernatural phenomena, but might not necessarily be considered ghostly activity. And I brought it up to the parties involved, and I said, I don't know if this is a direction that we want to go in. And the response that I got was, it's all on the table. We don't know whether or not it's all connected. It seems like it's all connected. I know John believes it's all connected. And there's nothing that we can say that is off the table if it means it might be closer to getting us an answer. So that's when I knew like this was something that was going to go beyond anything anybody had ever seen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the other thing I want to add real quick, if I might, we're a team. The entire group of people involved in this project is a team. And I want to say that because that's the most important aspect of this whole experience, is that all of us are a team, and we're all working very hard to provide not only answers to the paranormal, but a view of the paranormal meme that is something everyone should be emulating, thinking outside of the box, not accepting anyone's word for something, proving things to yourself, demonstrating these things. And we went out of our way to capture things so that the audience could see and experience what we saw and experienced. You're not going to see a lot of, did you hear that, and no one heard anything, and relying on us to explain what you missed on TV. You're going to see the things that we saw. You're going to experience things that we experienced. And I think that's going to be a key difference in the presentation of this project, is we're taking the audience with us.
Absolutely. Now, and part of the key of that presentation too is just visually, it's unlike anything you've ever seen. There's a real artistic eye to what's being done. So not only are you seeing the gritty, raw reality of what's going on in the investigation, but you're seeing the production values in the scenes that John and Chad aren't filming themselves. And we can get into all that coming up in the next hour. I also want to talk about what makes John and Chad unique for this situation. And I want to get into a little bit more in-depth some of the theories behind what they're investigating in the show. And that's going to lead to a bigger discussion, of course, of just exactly what the heck is going on out there in the world of the paranormal. So that will all be on the table. We are going to take a break for the news right now. We'll come back after a few moments. We'll get back into it with John and Dave, and we'll take your calls as well at 508-996-0500, 877-996-1420. You can also jump in the conversation on Twitter as well, using the hashtag SpookyLive. If you're watching us on Spooky TV at SpookySouthcoast.com, you'll see the chat window there for your tweets to pop up. They do take a few seconds, but I also have Twitter open so I can see them as they happen. So a great opportunity for everybody to get involved in the discussion, because we're blowing the doors open on the topic of ghosts and the paranormal throughout the night here with Dave and John from Ghost Stalkers, and we'll talk to you all coming up in just a moment after the news with more Spooky South Coast.
Attention local news, talk,
I'm
and
Jay
sports.
Farner, president
The
of Quicken
South
Loan.
Coast turns to AM 1420 WBSM New Bedford and WBSM.com.
From ABC News, I'm Chuck Seaver.